Hello guys, welcome to Edukripa. Today we will be discussing about few activities and case studies regarding the chapter acid, bases and salts. First, we'll take case study number 1. We have been given three substances in which contains three elements, namely X, Y and Z. We have to determine whether they are acidic, basic or whether it is neutral. First, the basic and foremost thing that we will do is do a litmus paper test on each of these substances in these containers. First, when X is tested with the litmus paper, it turns blue litmus paper into red. What does it mean? We have learned in the previous video that whenever a blue litmus paper turns into red, it indicates presence of acidic substance. Okay, this one is done. Next, container Y, when it is examined with turmeric, it shows that it is turning into slightly reddish or brownish color. What does this indicate? This indicates that the substance which is in container B, container Y, is a basic substance. Similarly, container Z, when it is tested with China rose, the substance is turning into green color. China rose is usually a petal, which is usually in pink color. It will turn into green. What does this indicate? This indicates that the substance is of basic nature. In exams, what the question will be like is, they will give you the observations and tell you to determine the nature of the substances. This will be the case. Next, we'll take case studies in the kitchen. You can try out on your own. Test litmus paper with lemon juice, soap water, vinegar. And you can write down the observations. I'll give you the answers though. When litmus paper is dipped into the lemon juice, it will turn into red, indicating that there is acid in lemon juice. Which is the acid that we recalled in the previous video? Please comment it down. Next is soap water. Also, we discussed about soap water. What does this do? If you take a colorless litmus paper or a red litmus paper, it will turn red litmus paper into blue, which indicates that soap water is basic in nature. What about vinegar? I also told you about vinegar. Vinegar contains certain acid. What is that acid? This also please comment down. This will turn blue litmus paper into red, showing off its acidic properties. Okay, this was about kitchen. Next, we'll take powder test. This is a very crucial thing. Powder test. Whenever there are three powders given, it is you have to make sure that the powder is not dry. When the powder is dry, litmus paper test will fail. You cannot apply any indicator to the dry powder because there is no ions present in the dry powder. It should be in the aqueous solution form. Now, when the case is that the powder is not dry or the powder is neutral, what will be the observations? There are three powders given to us, namely A, B, C. And we have done certain tests on it. We have took blue litmus paper, red litmus paper and turmeric. These are the three indicators that we have. When we tested blue litmus paper on powder 1, it turned into red. What does this mean? This means that this powder is acidic. Right? Next, when it was tested on powder 2, when blue litmus paper was tested, there was no change. And also in powder 3, there was no change. Does this conclude that does this test conclude the nature of powder 2 and powder 3? No, we still can't conclude the nature of powder 2 and powder 3. Next, we take red litmus paper. When we check red litmus paper with powder 1, there is no change occurring. But when we are testing red litmus paper on powder 2, it is turning into blue. Now we can conclude that the powder 2 that was given to us is basic in nature. When it was tested on powder 3, again, there was no change. Next, we took turmeric. When turmeric was tested on powder 1, there was no change observed. But when it was tested on powder 2, it turned into either reddish or brownish color. This concludes that the powder 2 is basic in nature again. Next, again it was tested on powder 3, but there was no change. From this, first we will conclude that powder 3 is either dry or neutral. Okay, this is neutral. Next, powder 2, we got two observations. First is red litmus paper turning blue, turmeric turning reddish or brownish. This concludes that this is basic. And there was, you can do two observations here to conclude that powder 1 is acidic. One is blue litmus paper turning into red, and as turmeric when applied, it gives no change. So this concludes this activity when three powder test is given. Next, we will test water testing. How is water tested? For us to know whether it is edible, whether it is drinkable or not. First, we will take river water. When river water is taken and it is tested with certain solutions, certain indicators, it gives out no color because it is usually neutral in nature. If there is no contamination happening into the river, it is usually neutral. There are nothing present. Usually there will be salts, and as we know, salt is a neutral substance. It will give out no result with indicator test. Next, we are considering drainage water. We will test drainage water with whatever the indicators we can get. If we test with litmus paper and it turns out red, we can conclude that the drainage water is acidic. If it turns out blue, we can conclude that the drainage water has been mixed with some chemicals and it is basic in nature. Okay, here we have taken blue litmus paper is turning to red, and the acidic and the turmeric also is turning into red. Means there is a mix of chemicals in the drainage water, so it is not fit for drinking. Next, we come to the tap water. Here in tap water, we have to be very, there is one point that you have to observe. For the cleaning of the water, there are certain chemicals mixed. There are certain salts and basic substances mixed to kill the germs in the water. So what happens? Tap water exhibited a slightly basic pH as it turned red litmus paper blue and turmeric into brown. This is the observation done. So you can conclude that this is basic in nature, this was acidic, and this was neutral. As I told before, question will be given in the reverse chronological order. You will be given the observations and you have to determine the nature of the substances. Next, there are some questions for you. Practice questions. Understanding acid-basic reactions, acid and base reactions. If you take certain substance and with the help of indicators, you do a process and you get certain colors, you will determine whether the solution is acidic or basic. Next, you can test the soap's property. I already told about the soap solution, but soap in the solid form. What will happen when you apply litmus paper to it or when you apply turmeric to it? Please check it out. Next, importance of indicators. As we already told you, you can't taste test every substance. That's why indicator is necessary. This was all about the case studies and activities. See you guys in the next video. Thank you.